Hi, and welcome to this edition of Change Your Chat. I'm your host, Courtney Govero. One of our organization's goals is to highlight, promote, and share the story of other organizations that are being the change they want to see in the world. Today, we have a really special guest. We are highlighting Stella Falone Woodcraft, an extension of Taylor Guitars. Joining me today on the call is Jon Bergman, the brand manager. Welcome, Jon.
Hi, Courtney. Thank you for having me.
So, Jon, you have a great story. How did you get connected to Taylor Guitars and eventually get to Stella Falone?
Well, I grew up in a musical family who owned a music store in Central California. And so I had actually been selling Taylor guitars for many years. And then after college and, getting my degree and doing that kind of stuff, I went to back into the music industry and applied for a job at Taylor and got, started working there. And fast forward, I've been at the company almost 10 years. And then I got connected with Bob one day because we're Bob Taylor, of course. We were talking at the NAMM show about Stella Falone, which is his new startup for kitchen woodcrafts and my passion for cooking. And that's kind of how we kind of got connected. Bob was, he was generous enough to enjoy what I had to say about cooking and my passion about it, and eventually got me into helping assist with Stella Falone.
That's fantastic. Well, I can't show them, but I'll send a picture so Grant can put it out with the newsletter. But I got my very own Stella Falone cutting board. Now, I don't know that I can bring myself to cut on this. It is gorgeous. The wood is amazing. Tell me a little bit about the kitchen products that you produce. Tell me a little bit about the cutting boards, and maybe share with your audience what makes them so incredibly unique, other than how they got here. What's really cool about these products?
What's really great about these products is, like, I love that you said that, like, they're so beautiful I can't even cut on them, because that's one of the things, that these boards are A, gorgeous, B, they're super durable. They're made of West African ebony from our plant over in Yaoundé, Cameroon. And they're really special because what we do is we take the pieces that are quote unquote not perfect for musical instrument making, and we bring those into the kitchen craft world, where we can make really, really cool items that can kind of enhance someone's kitchen. We have cutting boards. We're coming out with all different stuff this year. We got some rolling pins on the way. We have some paddles on the way. We have tongs. We have all sorts of things that are really going to have someone's kitchen be really stand out and be the envy, I think, of all their friends and family when they come over. So,
don't tell me all that. I'm going to have to order more.
Well, I think that's the goal, right? You got to create change through business sometimes. And I think that's the big thing that we're trying to do, is we want to make sure that the people of Cameroon and our family that's out there really gets the most money for the hard work that they're doing.
I think that's beautiful. Now, I think a lot of people have heard of Taylor Guitars. After our first talk, I asked several of my friends, I'm like, have you heard of Taylor Guitars? Do you know what this is? And they're all like, yeah, totally. Taylor Guitar is the leading manufacturer of acoustic guitars, and is used by some really famous people like Zac Brown, Taylor Swift, and even my junior high school crush, The Edge from U2. But how in the world does a guitar company end up making cutting boards? How did this come? What are some of those environmental things that really spurred you all to action?
Well, I think the main thing is that, Bob really is passionate about music, and he's passionate about food. And I think we can all agree that those two things are the tying factor to bring people together, right? So Bob was out in the bush one day, and he came out there and decided, he was looking around and noticing that, for every 10 trees they cut down, people can only use, one tree out of the 10, because our industry is persnickety when it comes to ebony. They want it all black. They want it pure black. but you don't know that until you cut down the tree. So he's walking through and he's seeing all these trees just falling down, and they have these really great smoky streaks and these beautiful variegations in it. And so he kind of went down and said, well, what can we do to use these? And, everyone's like, well, you don't want those, right? He was like, you don't want these trees because they're not all black. Well, Bob, being himself, said, well, I do, and I'll pay you the exact same rate as I was paying for the other ones. So the yield became higher, and so now people were making more money without using as much waste.
Right. And they weren't cutting, from an environmental standpoint, they weren't wasting those trees. And I find that really fascinating, how he was able to walk in. Now, when you were talking to me about this, you were talking about when they cut the tree down, all they really want is the core. So they were discarding huge portions, right? Can you talk a little bit about the tree itself and how that works?
Yeah, so you don't really know what you're getting until the tree actually gets cut. It's not one of those things where you can kind of like core it out and kind of find out what it is. So you have to completely, cut down the entire tree. And basically, Bob, when you look at these trees and you see them just laying there and they're just going to, to waste, it's like, what can you do with these, right? What can you, how do you make another change within the industry that you currently work with, which is, musical instruments? So what we did is we decided to start just changing people's minds and saying, hey, look, this stuff's beautiful. This stuff's gorgeous. The density's still the same. Everything's still the same. Just, we need you to be conscious that what you're buying is really, if you want to have ebony for the next 50, 100 years, which is very commonly used in the bowed instrument world, the stringed instrument world, piano keys, those kind of things. If you want to be able to have those consistently, well, we have to make a change and be able to use everything. We've eaten the heart, but thrown away the rind, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was a great analogy, eating the inside and not use the whole thing. Now, part of your efforts there, you're also replanting trees. How many trees do you guys think you've replanted?
Well, we've set a goal to do about 15,000 trees, and we have definitely exceeded that. So we've done that with ebony, but we're also replanting trees for the outlying villages and for people that are throughout the Congo Basin and the Jaws, as they call it. And so there's a lot of fruit trees that we're doing for those folks. We're doing a lot of stuff to help keep the villages sustained, keeping them healthy and fed. And then also, we also had to find out how to replant ebony. And so that was something we did with a team at UCLA and got them involved. And we noticed a bunch of different things that I don't think anybody else ever knew. And I think Bob's probably the only one with his team and the entire team that's been involved in this that actually knows how to grow ebony trees. So not only do we replant them, we have the people of the villages outside of Yaoundé, replanting for us and for themselves as well with fruit trees. So, 15,000 and rising. So we're really happy with
That's
what we
amazing.
And we're just going to keep continuing as long as we can.
That's amazing. That's actually on the front. When you get your cutting board, it has this really beautiful wrapper kind of thing around it. And part of the picture is these little trees in little pots. And part of that story is passed on. And I think that's so cool. When someone comes to my house and they see this cutting board, I can tell them about the sustainability efforts that are going on. But also, one of the coolest things about your story is that it's more than just wood and the environment. I think sometimes people get wrapped up in this the environment, let's do the environment, but you guys had a heart to do environment plus people. So I really loved this. Tell me the story of how you got the name Stella Falone.
Well, Stella and Falone are both two amazing women that actually work at our Acrylicam factory over in Yaoundé. And they are just amazing women, and they are just the heart and soul of what we're doing here with Stella Falone. And Bob could think of no other folks that he would love to honor than to put Stella and Falone out there. And I urge everybody to go to our Instagram page and our website and and read the stories and see the pictures of these folks, and putting names to faces. I think that's a big thing. And I love calling everyone that's out there our family, because they are definitely an extension of Taylor Guitars, and they're just along with us. And I'm proud to be able to work every day on behalf of all the folks that work out there, and it makes me feel very, very purposeful and very driven to keep the wages higher, improve their quality of life. And being able to do that with kitchen products is a really special thing. And I hope we get to continue this for the long haul.
Well, I can't wait to get some of the new products that'll match my cutting board. I think that's fantastic. Our founder, Jimmy Cook, has a saying that I think it echoes what you all are doing. He always says better education creates better jobs, and better jobs is the only way out of poverty. Talk a little bit about how you take care of your family over there. How do you take care of them compared to what's available to them today without your influences?
Yeah, we have a dedicated website that's on the Taylor Guitars webpage that's called the Ebony Project, and it's a multi-part series that really explains the entirety of the, not only just Stella Falone, but just the replanting efforts that we're doing and the reforestation efforts out there. And the folks, when we started, there really wasn't much, there wasn't anything. And now it's grown up a bit. We've gotten a lot of tools out there. We make a lot of our tooling in-house here in El Cajon, California, which is right outside of San Diego. So what we do is we build a lot of different things to make their lives easier, to make them more accurate, teach them skills. And we send all those things back over, and we have multiple people throughout the years that go over to teach and to guide and to help. And, so not only are we enriching their lives in a monetary value, but we're also teaching them a trade and a skill. And, and before, some folks weren't even eating at lunchtime, and now people are eating at lunchtime. We have a cantina there, there's working toilets. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but very big thing. And, so it's kind of, when you start at bare minimum or nothing, the sky's the limit. And I think now, when you look at the accomplishments of what we've done over the last, 10 years or so, it's something really special. And people are there for the long haul. People are there because we treat them well and with respect, and we coach and we guide them, and we make sure that they are feeling special every day, because what they're doing is very not only important to them and to their particular community, but it's a very passion-driven thing that they want to be a part of.
That's wonderful. I love that story. I love people in this world that are willing to reach into another area and make a positive impact. I mean, you all had the opportunity to just kind of turn your back on it and make a bigger profit and do what you needed to do and those kind of things. But what you've done is reinvested in that community. And can you just imagine if more companies and more people did that kind of thing? That's what really makes the change. I just think Bob sounds like a fantastic person, and I appreciate all your efforts with it. When we talked earlier, you mentioned, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, Bob he's a true inspiration, not only to myself, but I think to a lot of people. And one thing I really respect about him is, most owners or founders of companies wouldn't do the things that he does and or did, and he's a guy that's 100 days a year in Africa, sleeping on an army cot, trying to get this thing off the ground, because he knows that this is so important to not only to that area and to, nature and reforestation and replantation and all that kind of stuff, but it's important to those people. And he's created bonds and friendships and all those things. And, it's amazing that I just give him mad props and kudos, because, most people wouldn't do what he's done, and he continues to do it every day. And, he thinks about it every day. And, you know, I'm proud to work alongside a gentleman like that.
That's great. That's fantastic. When we talked earlier, you mentioned Bob's reaction to the discarded wood, and it was visceral, and he called to action. And one of the things that the people kind of argued with him a little bit about was that he didn't want to buy it, or he didn't want to pay that, or he shouldn't pay that much, or whatever. But he had a phrase. Do you remember what he said when they said, you don't want to buy the bad wood? Why are you buying the bad wood? Do you remember what he said?
He said, because I
can. On our call. I just loved that. I mean, that speaks to his whole personality.
Yeah, I think he goes with the change, right? He goes with, if no one else is willing to do it, I'm going to do it. And that's the thing. So the easy part would be to leave, right? The easy part would be to go there and say, oh, this is a lot of work, and leave. But that's not how Bob operates. It's, hey, how can we get a group of folks and people that care about this enough, as much as him, to go in and start making changes and start taking action today? And that's what he did.
That is great. I just love that phrase, because I can. I think what's interesting, I don't think everyone thinks that of themselves, that they can make a difference, but everyone can. You know, I see that with, you know, some of the things that our changers and our supporters do. They may sign up to put $5 a month in and do we have a little subscription thing where you can pay a certain amount into the not-for-profit just to fund the need and fund the change. But everyone can. And I love the way he said that. And I see our changers who go on these volunteer trips and spend weeks building schools, and everyone listening to this can make a difference. And you could just make a difference just by going to the website, Stella Falone, and buying the cutting board and sharing it with your social community. I mean, if you were to go online, I've been waiting because I wanted to do this podcast first, but now that we've done the podcast, I'm going to put my picture with my beautiful cutting board on my Instagram and my Facebook and all those different social media things, so that I can share the story. And I think that's just an easy way. You get a beautiful product, and it's an easy way. And it kind of ties into how we got connected, because Jon, we would have never met had it not been for Brad Prose, who's one of our BCTV partners. And he has a blog called chilisandsmoke.com. Now, after I went to the blog and read about the barbecue, because I'm a KC girl, Kansas City, we love barbecue.
Yeah.
Give me a smoke ring on some brisket.
You do it.
But that's right. Tell me how you got connected to BCTV through Brad.
So it's kind of funny, you know, I'm very happy with, and I want everybody to know this, because, you know, you introduced me as the brand manager of Stella Falone, and that's all great, but I'm also the inside sales manager for Taylor Guitars. I work for Taylor Guitars, and I do Stella Falone as a passion. And so what I do from time to time is I go out and I reach to people, just to your last point, is I reach out to people that are inspirational, that are passionate, that are good, caring, kind people, that are willing to tell the story. And that's all we ask for, because in a company like ours, we don't have another mouth to feed, right? We are trying to feed, you know, the folks in Cameroon. So if somebody's trying to get something out of us for this, and that, we don't have time for that. It's just really, it sounds rude to say that, but in reality, it's like, we want everything we possibly can to go back to Cameroon. And so I reached out to Brad on Instagram because I was just a fan of what he was doing. I got connected from him through Danielle Cochran, who is a influencer of ours out in Florida. And, you know, I started chopping it up with him, and we started talking and text messaging. We had a couple of calls, and I said, you know, hey, Brad, like, you know, I can't pay you. I can get you a board that you can hopefully shoot and help us tell our story, but that's pretty much it, man. And so then we started talking about what he does with you guys, and I was just totally blown away. I was like, these things match so perfectly. The ethos of what we're all doing is right there, and it's connected. And I was just like, this is going to be a great relationship. And I can't thank Brad enough for telling the story, telling folks about what we're doing, And, in turn, I do the same for him. I like to promote everything he's doing on Stella Falone through social media channels, because he's doing amazing work as well. And without people like him and other folks that we have as influencers, we can't do the jobs we're doing today. So I love Brad, big fan. Brad, if you're listening, love you, buddy. Thank you.
Well, I love the way his food looks, and I'm going to have to get Grant to get me connected so I can have some barbecue.
That's the problem. You get hungry looking at all this stuff.
I know, the pictures are unreal. But this is what happens when people who want to be the change get together and make change happen. And you have done that so well. If you don't mind sharing, you had a great quote when we talked, something you messaged your dad when you sent him a board about your passion. I love that you told us that this is a passion project for you. Could you share some of that with us?
Yeah, I was messaging with my dad, and we were just kind of talking about, the purpose-driven life, so to speak. And we were talking, and I kind of just messaged him, and I said, hey, there are a lot of ways that we can be impactful to the world, to people around us, that don't cost money, right? That if you're driven and you're passionate, that you can create some sort of change. And it doesn't have to be on this scale of, monumental change down to, minuscule change. Any change in a positive way is good. And I said to him, I go, that's exactly how I feel about Stella Falone. This has now become a purpose for me. I get to work with my passion, which is cooking. I get to impact and change the lives of others that I am so excited and so happy to do. And that has become my purpose. And that to me is just eye-opening. Once people get to that point where we are living purpose-driven lives, we are really, really going to be able to make change in our everyday lives with every bit of action that we do. So, yeah, a lot of that can come out of a simple text message, even if it's with your dad at 4 a.m.
That's beautiful. Passion makes an impact, and the impact drives your purpose. And I thought that was so well said, Jon. Well, I really appreciate your time today. I know you have new family and a lot going on, and we appreciate that time. And thank you for joining us on the Changer Chat today.
No, thank you guys, and for everything you guys are doing as well. It's really an honor to be with you guys. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. Well, that is all we have for our Changer Chat today. Make sure you go and visit the Stella Falone website. The link is in the description, and it is in our newsletter. And also check out our past Changer Chats and learn more about Be the Change volunteers on our website, www.btcv.us. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.